Here we go. We are live. What is up, everybody? Aaron the dog back with the final breakdown for the week. It is the Bellator 286 and LFA 143 breakdown show combined here. I have been doing this a little more often at times, both from a time perspective and just overall card perspective. I chose not to do an LFA video this week separately. It will be included with my picks at the end here. But overall, it's LFA Brazil. We're seeing a lot of lesser known fighters, less tape, just overall unknown, with the amount of time off and with these guys going. So, not going to be putting as much of an investment on those. I definitely will share the spots that I appreciate and view as valuable as always, and I'll point those out. Jose Delano, for example, I think is one of those. But overall, LFA didn't determine its own video, so I am going to combine it here with the Bellator video. So timestamps will be in the description. We're starting with the Bellator 286 video here, live Saturday, so they are going against the UFC, and they picked a good card to go against the UFC for, so I get the why they're going on Saturday here. They got Pitbull and Borics in the Featherweight World Championship main event. AJ McKee moving up to 155 to face Spike Carlyle. So go figure there. But, it's Bellator. We're going to do what we can. We got UFC this weekend as well. 14 fights currently slated on this card. We just had the one mix-up with Chris Avila coming off of the Lance Gibson fight. Lance Gibson has a new opponent. We are starting in the featherweight division, and yes, indeed, Moise, I agree. The carousel will be running. We'll have this up until further notice. Starting at 145 here, we got Weber Almeida, formerly very intriguing prospect at this point. Not really sure. He's still fighting on the first fight of the prelims, so kind of lets you know how things have gone so far for him. But, still a good prospect, even though he's a little bit older in age at 34 years old. 6-1 out of X Gym, taking on the Boss Rudin elite MMA representative in the 32-year-old Ryan the Lion Lilly. 11-4 Ryan Lilly. Definitely has been around. Good experience on the regional scene. 32 years old, 5'6", definitely a comeback fighter. Last fought in May of this year, losing to Albert Morales, former UFC fighter, by decision. Pretty competitive fight there, but, again, Albert Morales, 10-8-1 himself, not great. Was supposed to face AJ Bryant in August with UNF, and then got the call up for Weber Almeida. Has 2 losses to Albert Morales now, got finished last time. Kevin Worth, he lost to Francisco Rivero Jr., Rafion Stouts. Good level of competition. Had that win over James Barnes in Bellator. Got the quick knockout there. Definitely can throw. Still the way he's getting it done. His last 3 wins or 4 or 5 wins have been by knockout, including over Jordan Imgonowinski with LFA. So definitely has sprung the upset on time. So I think a little bit of a buyer beware here. I think Weber Almeida, by no means a sure thing. 6'1", 6'1", 5'7", a little bit taller. Fights kind of that Machida style, coming off of a win over Fabricio Franco. Used the leg kicks, looked really good in that fight. But before that, got pretty exposed with regards to the grappling by Johnny Soto. Johnny Soto really hasn't been able to maintain any momentum since then. Otherwise, finishing all his opponents by KO. Does move well, seems to get the finish early on. I think that Weber's going to be more exposed in the grappling, so I think this should be a spot he's safe in. So not looking to play it too heavily. I anticipate Weber Almeida to be a pretty heavy favorite, and he is minus 330, plus 250 on Ryan Lilly. Lilly can catch him, but Almeida is pretty elusive. I think he'll be ready for it. So Almeida should get the finish in this one. Won't spend too much time on that. Next fight is at bantamweight, 2-0 versus 1-1, but Bobby Seronino does look to be the goods here. So I think they're going to take their time bringing him up here. But Bobby put that beat down on Socrates Hamilton and Hernandez in their first fight. Miguel PM Burt, his opponent here, is 1-1 out of San Diego, California. Not a lot of info available. Did fight in April of this year. He had a fight flagged for padding, and that was with the Gladiator with padding. So definitely kind of lets you know the level of competition he's been fighting. 0-0 and 1-0, lost to 1-0 Alberto Garcia. Bobby Serenino, the third, 2-0, as I pointed out, 24 years old. Socrates Hernandez, an absolute beatdown. And then put away Caleb Ramirez after a very impressive showing. Up to then, good experience as an amateur. Bobby's a real deal here. Bobby puts him away, I would say, rather quickly here. This is at bantamweight. Bobby should be a pretty massive favorite, last I checked, and he is indeed at the minus 650 range, plus 450 on Miguel here. You got to stay away from it. I think Bobby gets a finish early on in this one. Alex, good to see you here as well. Moise, Alex, everybody else, thank you for joining me here on this little mega show. So next fight, Samiko Inaba, one of the Bellator females that really has a lot of promotion behind her, yet they're putting her third from the bottom on the prelims. A little bit of a weird move here, but she's being set up with a fight to definitely show Samiko's ability. Samiko's looked very good. Good striking, good, just well-rounded MMA game overall. Nadine Madao here, 2-5 from Belgium, 30 years, nearly 31 years old, 10th plant, San Diego. Nicknamed Too Much. I mean, again, Too Much, 2-5. There's not much to say here. Coming off a win of a 1-1 Katie Strike by decision in August, so she has fought recently. She's going to be her fourth fight of 2022. Has lost to Taylor Magdalene with LFA back in the day, Claire Guthrie as well, and Vanessa Demopoulos. Wins over an 0-0 and a 1-0 or 1-1. Samiko is being brought in for a showcase here. She is very, very marketable. 31 years old, 9-0, going back to her amateur career. So far, really hasn't taken that step up. Their best win over Randy Field by arm triangle. Probably another submission coming here for Samiko. The odds are going to be way out of line here, obviously, for this one. Pretty much a setup fight here. And Samiko is currently a minus 900, plus 460. That's going to rise too on Nadine. Nadine's being brought in here to be finished. It's pretty obvious. Next fight here at 155, Lance Gibson Jr., a Canadian prospect I really, really like. Good overall grappler, well-rounded fighter here, taking on Dominic Clark, another, good wrestler. But that's pretty much all you can say about Clark. Lance Gibson will have his father and Julia Budd, his mother-in-law, I believe, in his corner. Always his corner. Very methodical fighter here. Very physical as well. Typically likes to go to the grappling here against Dominic Clark. Dominic Clark's he's been around, 37 years old, 15-12. Obviously has faced a high level of competition along the way. Last fought in June, facing Adam Asenza before he went over to LFA. Yes, Adam lost, but Adam, a very good fighter. Knocked him out in the first round, though. One win in his last four. That being over Mike Segura, a 9-6 fighter with LXF, lost to Arthur Estrazoulis, another fighter who went on to lose on the Contender Series, got knocked out by Ricardo Casillas in about 30 seconds, which isn't a great look. Joshua Jones put him away early. If Dominic does seem to have kind of hit a point in his career where, he is definitely being finished. All of his losses dating back to 2017 are losses by finish. He does have a few finishes on his record as well. Lance Gibson Jr. out of Canada, the real deal. Here he is with his father and mother-in-law. There's Julia Budd, 27 years old. Went to Arizona State. Good overall wrestler, just good overall MMA fighter. Went to the decision with Now and Dung in their last fight. Definitely showed me quite a bit. I definitely like to see that a lot. He's really trying to expand his game overall. Has a finish over Pena, but has gone to a decision in 2 of his last 3. Likes to get the mount, work the ground and pound, and then work the submission. I think he gets a ground and pound or submission finish here, but I do like Lance Gibson to get the finish. over Dominic Clark here. Another, pretty big favorite. And by pretty big, I mean it's rising. Minus 560 currently, plus 390 on Clark. I would put Gibson in parlays, and I get him in there pretty soon if you're going to. So early on, very, very lopsided fights. Now we get much closer here as we move through the prelims. High quality prelim here. J.J. Wilson taking on Vladimir Tokov here. This is a really good fight for the lightweight division here. I'm a huge, huge J.J. Wilson fan. I will say that first and foremost. And so far, what I've seen of Vladimir Tokov in the Bellator cage, not very impressed. Stary Oskol, Russia. So very good camp there. 6-1. He's coming off of a win against Daniel Skatazi. Got the win by decision there. It was fine. Definitely had some moment. The Chris Gonzalez fight was the one that opened my eyes more. The athleticism of Gonzalez really gave him a lot of trouble. And honestly, he just looked pretty, looked to have some difficulty transitioning between the disciplines in MMA. Before that, with Bellator, he had 2 wins over Ryan Walker and Brandon Hastings, both decisions. So kind of waiting to see that real Russian prospect. It hasn't quite translated, even though he has 3-4 so far. Meanwhile, J.J. Wilson, he is out of New Zealand, the Maori kid, 25 years old, 5'11", 74-inch reach, has moved up to 155. Had a tough go against Gadzi Radimov in the last fight. Gadzi, one of the best fighters in the division currently. The fight against Pedro Carvalho, very, very telling on the level that J.J. Wilson's at. I get it was at 145. I do think the cuts were tough on him, and I just think he went against a very tough opponent. I think he's in a situation here where he's going to push the pace. He's going to be the more physical of the two, and I just think that the confidence is with JJ here. I like JJ in this spot. I anticipate it is going to be a closely lined fight, but I've not seen the Tokov that's kind of been promised so far, and I think JJ exposes it. Currently, the slight underdog at minus 110, minus 120 on Tokov. Super close line. I like JJ. And I do think that JJ is going to have to show he can get to a decision, though. And the last time he went to a decision and the only time he went to a decision was against Taiwan Claxton. And he had a split decision there. I didn't agree with the split, but there's a little bit about, is JJ able to pace himself? We do know Tokov is. So Tokov could make this a very boring, kind of methodical type of fight here, but I like JJ Wilson to get the slight upset. And good fight. Another really good fight at 155, or closely contested at least. Keoni Diggs taking on Ricardo Casillas here. Another, closely contested 155 fight, but I do like one side particularly, but I'm going to go into Ricardo Casillas here first. 9-3. He's known as a grappler out of Huntington Beach, California, the Brazilian, with King's MMA, 5'8", 73.5-inch reach, actually a reach and a half advantage. Coming off a rough loss in the last one, got knocked out by that Superman punch by Rat Garbage Maldonado, who we'll be talking about again later with Nick Brown. For that, had to knock out Dominic Clark in 2020, and then he was knocked out twice by Kristen Aguilera and Jacob Rosales. So it is a question of the chin on Ricardo Casillas for me. I do think that grappling-wise, he can get into some scrambles and possibly submit Keoni Diggs or, keep him busy. I think Keoni needs to be willing to strike in this one. 35 years old for the Hawaiian, 5'9", out of 808 Fight Factory. 2 straight losses for him, both by split to Daniel Weichel and Bobby King. So 2 older fighters, but we're able to keep it kind of in that striking range where Keoni does slow, have a little bit of a lack of diverse strikes there. He definitely wants to get it to the ground, try to implement the grappling. Casillas is very capable there, so I think it's 2 grapplers who are striking here. So I think we're going to see another very, very close fight. For me, putting a minus 350 to minus 385 behind Diggs is madness. I think it's a very close fight based on the matchup. I think Casillas can keep him engaged in the grappling, and could be another split decision we're looking at here. So in that case, I would want the plus ticket dog or pass from a line perspective here because, again, Casillas, I do not believe should be a plus 255, nor should Keoni Diggs be a minus 385. So this is a pass for me. I would take Diggs, but again, Casillas winning a decision or getting a sub would not surprise me one bit. Casillas is the younger guy. Both guys, I think, are going to have issues with their pace later in the fight, too. So should be an interesting one. We'll move on to the 185 middleweight division. Kadzramat Bestiev making his return against Khalid Mutsaraliev here. So Khalid versus Bestiev. Should be a good fight at 180 pound or 85 pounds here. Bestiev coming off a questionable win over Ty Gorder. Ty Gorder just having some tough times in MMA right now. Had another loss recently, unfortunately, but definitely Bestiev. A little bit of a question here. 34 years old, tall at 6'6", but 77-inch reach. He was tough in that fight with Ty Gorder. Overcame some early adversity and kept going, so that was good to see. Before that, got knocked out clean by Phil Hawes. It's been knocked out by Alonzo Menefield. Mikey Gomez put him away with the rear naked choke. Blake Troop knocked him out. So, again, some concerns there, but he's crafty. He's a long, lengthy guy, has good strikes, but his grappling is definitely, I think, where he can maybe have a little more success. Hasn't faced a terribly high level of competition. Has not had a fight since that fight with Ty Gorder over a year ago. So a little curious how he comes back here. Khalid Mutsaraliev, just not really impressed with him either. Similar to Tokov, has had trouble translating into Bellator. Had a decision loss to Anthony Adams last year, which is definitely rough to see. The Fabio Aguirre fight was by no means impressive. And oh boy, from Kelly, I don't even want to know what about. Beat Stevie Dalloway at UFC Fight Night in 2018. Didn't get signed back. I do think that's a red flag as well. Yeah, I mean, I'll go with Khalid Mutsaraliev here, and I'll hardly be able to say his name. But again, this is one where I don't really know I'm getting at Bestiev. He's crafty, he's tough at 6'6", and I mean, he showed the toughness in his last fight with Ty Gorder, where he was able to edge out the decision. But I gotta go with Mutsaraliev here, Khalid. And so I'll take him by decision, but not when I'm lining up behind at minus 330 either. So just my thoughts on that one. But Bestiev, I haven't been too impressed with. I don't think he won his last fight. They took a long, long time off. We continue on with the prelims, third from the top. This is one of my favorite value plays, or one of my favorite favorites on the weekend here. And this is at bantamweight. Anthony Adams, exactly. I agree. Bestiev and Anthony Adams would probably fight to a draw. So, again, minus 345 on Khalid. No one wants that. But this fight at bantamweight, Richard Palencia, a guy I'm a huge fan of, really looking forward to seeing how he looks over here in Bellator. And this is my free odds boost of the week against C.J. Hamilton. If you don't know C.J. Hamilton, you don't know regional MMA. And if there's one thing you know about C.J. Hamilton, if you beat C.J. Hamilton, you might be good. If you don't, you're bad. I think Richard Palencia is very good. So for me, this fight is a setup fight for Mr. Palencia. He should look very good in this one. 10-0. He is 32 years old now, out of MMA Lab, but in great shape, in great condition. I'm not concerned about the 32 on this 135er. He's a former wrestler, 5'7", 69-inch reach, taking on the 5'6", 72-inch reach of C.J. Hamilton, Autobot, 35, nearly 36 years old, out of Georgia here, now fighting out contemporary mixed martial arts academy, but he's been all over the place. 2 straight losses coming into this one, to albeit very good opponents in Mehmedov and Matthias Matos. Put away in both of those in the second round. He's been put away in his last 3 fights in the second round, albeit by Jimmy Flick, Mehmedov, and Matthias Matos. The level of fighters he's beating are guys like Jesse Faglier Jr. and Dennis Fuentes, just not really good guys. Dennis Fuentes went to a split decision with. Jordan Espinosa beat him. You beat Ryan Hollis. Casey Kenny beat him. I mean, again, the guys that beat him are good. He's faced a very high level of competition. Richard's going to have to earn this, but Richard's very, very good. Coming into this one, 10-0 again, out of MMA Lab. Alan Bogoso, a really impressive 5-round fight there with him. And yeah, I agree. CJ's here for a paycheck. And Palencia, I think, is going to come in very, very focused. Yes, Bogoso was able to drop him a couple times in that fight, but appreciate JR smile. Appreciate it, man. Yeah, at the same point, I like how Palencia really recovered quickly from that adversity, has a good overall game plan, and he's the level of guy who beats CJ Hamilton. This is an odds boost. It's in a ton of my parlays all weekend. It's in my parlays with the Contender Series from yesterday. It's with my UFC this weekend. All over Richard Palencia. I've seen him on minus 275 on DraftKings. That price will soar. Get on him now. Put him in your parlays. Minus 275 plus 210 on CJ Hamilton. Palencia rolls in this one, gets the finish, I think, in the second round. Let's go with the Richard Palencia second round finish. We're going to bet that as well. So personally, I like Palencia a lot in this spot, and I think that it's a really good opportunity for him to make a statement, and I think he does so over CJ Hamilton. So I like Richard Palencia here, one of my favorites on the weekend. Next fight, 155. Really fascinating fight, and we're going to learn a lot about both these guys, Max Roshko and Furio gets it. Yeah, Furio. This is one that we're both definitely in agreement on. Palencia is one of my favorites of the weekend. There's just a significant difference and plenty of information on what you need to do against CJ Hamilton to beat him. CJ's there for a paycheck. Next fight, we're getting a lot of information here. After this one, Max Roshko, known as the guy who quit on like 1 week's notice against Austin Hubbard, taking on Mike Hamill, a guy who I have loved putting my money behind. Another MMA Lab representative here. 9-5 is Mike Hamill. What is that indicative of? It's indicative that he's taken on a high level of competition. 2 straight wins coming into this one over Kilias Mota and Bryce Logan. Really impressive wins there. Went to a decision with Usman Nurmagomedov. By no means was it competitive, but man, was his fight with Adam Borics a good one. Really, really good one. Mike Hamill's, man, is way better than he gets credit for. The Bruno Souza fight, always one I like going back to and pointing out because in my parlay for the weekend, Pico, AJ McKee, Sumiko, Ricci, put in Palencia, JR. Put in Palencia to that. I'm telling you, make it a little more plus money. But yes, all those come in for sure. But yeah, put in Palencia. Why wouldn't you? And then running hard from Hamill versus Max quits on the stool. That's what I'm going to, man. Go back and watch that Mike Hamill Bruno Souza fight that he got a loss for. And that's when I gained a huge amount of respect for Mike Hamill. He grinds. He's a good wrestler. He's made some mistakes early on. I mean, he's got a loss to Jordan Nowinski on his record. You learn from these, though. You learn from the disqualification. He has a split with Adam Borics in 2020. Went to a decision with Usman Nurmagomedov. The last 2 really has come into his own more and more. The Bryce Logan fight, especially impressive. He's not going to slow down. The cardio is going to be there. He's going to push things. Good wrestler as well. Good skill. You can't bet Max whatever you do. I agree. And yeah, JR, by all means, put him in that parlay. I'll join you on that one. But Max here, super high skilled. You see the NWCA All-Star Classic. He's been a grappler for a long time. Robert Drysdale, his coach. 2 straight wins since the debacle. But they've been over Jeff Creighton and Jordan Bailey. With Cage Warriors, he did get the ground and pound finish with Creighton. Went to a decision with Jordan Bailey, which was good to see the gas. But again, I still got questions. Was supposed to face Eric Sanchez twice, and Sanchez, unfortunately, was removed from the fight. Then we got to see how Sanchez looked. Would have been very good to see how he looked there. For me, this is a really good matchup for the skills of Mike Hamill. Hamill is going to push that cardio, push that pace. He's not bad on the feet at all. I think he's better than Max on the feet, and I think he can compete on the ground. MMA Lab's going to have a good game plan here. Maybe Max quit because he was on the stool on 1 week's notice, but I can't get that out of my head. Big stage here. I'm not getting behind Max Roshko. I got Mike Hamill's all day in this one. I think he works him and gets a decision. I really do. And I think Hamill knows what he needs to do as well. Slight underdog at plus 105, minus 130 on Max Roshko. I like the dog here quite a bit. So give me Mike Hamill, and even if he comes a slight favorite, I still like him. But Mike Hamill plus 105, I am locking in. We're on the featured prelim, and this is another fantastic fight. We're at 155 pounds. Islam Mehmedov versus Nick Brown. And you want to talk about polar opposites here. I have not been impressed with Mehmedov. I wasn't really impressed with him in PFL. Definitely not been impressed with him in Bellator yet. And Nick Brown, one of my favorite guys, man. NyQuil out of LFA. You know LFA never die. This dude is relentless. He is so good. He is only 32 years old. I know he looks like he's about 40, a little younger than his opponent, actually. Of Uniontown, Pennsylvania, NyQuil, because he puts his opponents to sleep. 6 straight wins coming into this one. That Mando Nalo fight was just an absolute statement to what he did to Rat Garbage there. Broke him down and beat him to a pulp. It was beautiful. Deserves a main card here. Shocked he's on the prelims still in his 3rd LFA fight now. Outclassed Bobby Lee, sunk in the heel hook, and it wasn't a desperate kind of leg lock attempt. He knew what he was doing in there. Just totally outclassed Bobby Lee. Arthur Estruzoulis with LFA, Ben Eagley, Trey Ogden, choked out Trey Ogden in 2 minutes. Nick is so good, man. He's one of my favorite guys on in Bellator. I loved him in LFA. I've been waiting for him to get his opportunity here. Absolutely cashed on him against Mando Nalo, where he was a plus 140 underdog. Now going against the Russian Islam Mehmedov, who has not impressed me really for a while. 21-2-1 is the impressive part, that record. But again, a win over Zach Zane in his last fight. Good. Like, go ahead and fight Zach Zane. I would really, really hope that you do and finish him. Split decision over Benson Henderson. Benson won that fight pretty clearly. Brett Primus, I believe, also won that fight. That Brett Primus was on the short end of that split decision. Had a draw against Loic Radzabanov with PFL. Knee bar in 3rd round over Martin Mezaluma, a 10-1 fighter with UAE. Wasn't able to find that one. A win over UK Bao. Luis Dujurin had a split with him. Again, like, he has just a lot of performances that I'm just not too blown away by. I do feel he struggles to fight in the States. And I just think Nick Brown is going to put on a pace. He knows what he needs to do. He's going to go in there and make Mehmedov work. And I think the lackadaisical approach of Mehmedov and the hyper-aggressive grappling and activity of Nick Brown, bad combination for Islam here. I already put a bet in at plus 185 on Nick Brown. Might be double dipping into it because this is a line to me that the odds are way off on. Nick Brown, LFA champion, really, really good, keeps a relentless pace, great conditioning, and I think he's going to grind away and, put down Mehmedov. I don't know if he gets a finish. I might be edging towards a decision, but honestly, with how he's been looking lately, he's been so aggressive with the ground and pound and the submissions. I think that Brown is going to make a statement here. Plus 180. Join me on the dog here, you guys. Minus 210. Maybe Mehmedov should be a slight favorite. Maybe. I feel this is closer to a pick'em or edging Nick Brown, and therefore I got Nick Brown here. I got him to get a decision, but I think he definitely has the ability to finish in this one. Great fight. Next fight, beginning of the main card here. Fight at 135 pounds between Juan Archuleta and Mr. Enrique Barzolo. Barzolo really has been doing very good over here in Bellator. And then Furio, are you with me on Nick Brown, sir? I hope that's what that yes is for. Yes, sir. Furio, shout out to Furio, by the way. Furio MMA on here, but Furio, I believe just Furio on Twitter. Fantastic football capper and MMA mind as well. So I always like to agree with him. But El Fuerte here, Enrique Barzolo, 18-6-2, 33 years old, out of Peru, aka is where he fights out of, coming short last time against Magomedov, going into the 4th round before getting submitted there. Really, impressive fight there. It was gritty back and forth, and Magomedov, showed that he's learned from those mistakes in Bellator. So shout out. The odds tax is real, exactly. Plus 180 for Brown's insane, exactly. Nick Brown, dog of the week by a country mile. Good to see. Come on, guys, join me on the train. Let's go. Enrique Barzolo before that, though, win over Nikita Mikhailov. Very impressive. A win over Darren Caldwell. Brown and pounding him out, even more impressive. UFC run was rough. Kevin Aguilar, Bobby Moffitt got the split there, but Evelev, I just wasn't able to quite get it online. I think him stepping away from the game for a couple of years and coming back at bantamweight and really making the weight effectively and healthily has been huge for him. Got that finish of Darren Caldwell, Mikhailov, and then had a really competitive 4 rounds with Magomedov before the guillotine was just sunk in. It will happen, but Barzolo's been around for a long time, keeps a really steady pace, mixes into wrestling at times, good stand-up, great size for the division here, and pretty much a lot of this mirrors his opponent in Juan Archuleta. Bellator and Cage Warriors are underrated organization. Yeah, LFA too. LFA is usually pretty good. This week's not a good example, but Juan Archuleta, pretty similar to his opponent. Very well-rounded, 35 years old, mixes it up well, 5'7". Good experience, coming off 2 straight losses, albeit to Sergio Pettis and then Rafion Stotts. So got finished by Rafion Stotts, and that was 6 months ago. So he's had some time off before that. The win over Patchy Mix and Henry Corrales keeps a good pace, trains with TJ Dillashaw, mixes it up well. I think this is going to be a really close fight. I think these guys really represent or match each other up well. I personally am edging towards Enrique Barzolo ever so slightly. I like I just like him to out edge this one. I don't really have a real succinct answer for you. It's not one that I'm going to be going overboard for because I do feel it's one of the closest fights on the card. Personally, I think either guy definitely can take this. I'm going with Enrique Barzolo by decision. If you want to go Archuleta decision, I get it. I just like Barzolo here. So I think it's a close one. I think it goes all 15. And yeah, Barzolo using his face as a shield isn't great, but love the guy. Yeah, fair enough. I don't think he goes away from that here with Juan Archuleta, but can Juan get the respect to really take the pressure away from Barzolo? I don't think so. So we have the last 3 here. Honestly, these last 3 are pretty cut and dry. So I'm not going to spend a ton of time on these last 3 fights because I feel that we're mostly on the same page. But Aaron Pico taking on Jamie Kennedy here, or Jeremy Kennedy. Whoops. I love Jeremy Kennedy. He's a really good guy. He's very well-rounded. And 17-3 has faced a good level of competition. He's come back and, really made a good name for himself within Bellator out of the Extreme Couture. Bounced back from the loss against Borics to beat Emmanuel Sanchez. Okay. Has a win over Matt Bissett as well with Bellator. Mostly goes to a decision at this point, does fight much more cautiously. I think he'll have to in this fight with Pico. He really has to look to get this to the later rounds before he starts to push it. Aaron Pico, 26 years old, 6 straight wins since the loss to Adam Borics, the flying knee, the loss to Henry Corrales, and then Zach Freeman lost in his debut. So, he's lost all his fights on the world stage with Bellator. Otherwise, all knockouts. He's starting to use the wrestling. Got the ground and pound finish of John DeJesus and then an anaconda choke of Aiden Lee before the decision over Gonzalez. So, Pico's just becoming more and more real. Does he get the finish or does he get the or does he go back to getting the decision? Was supposed to face Jeremy back in April, pulled out last second. Adelie Edwards stepped in, and Pico, again, used the wrestling, using it all. If Pico's using the full MMA game plan, I don't give Kennedy much of a chance, and I think he knocks him out. So I got Pico knockout. The line I am not crazy on at minus 600, plus 425 on Jeremy Kennedy, but Pico does win. So I do believe that all the heavy favorites here are going to somewhat cruise. AJ McKee Jr. versus Spike Carlyle is next. Love Spike Carlyle as much as the next guy, but let's be honest, he's going against AJ McKee here. I'll be interested to see how AJ responds to the weight increase here. And Spike Carlyle definitely, if he puts AJ McKee into trouble like Brian Moore did, for example, Spike Carlyle could put AJ McKee away. AJ McKee does not like to get hit and put into pain. And if Spike gets him hurt, I think Spike can put him away. But as the fight continues to go on, AJ McKee is just going to get stronger and stronger. And yeah, I like AJ McKee in this spot to get a submission in probably the second or third round. I just think the first round is the danger zone, but I think he's good enough to avoid it. Spike Carlisle's been on a roll, man. So, hey, if you want to take a ride on the Spike Carlyle chain, go ahead. But AJ McKee going to be in my parlay I mentioned with JR Smile earlier. So, yeah, AJ McKee should get this one done. And then, again, I said these last three are going to be quick just because, I mean, they really don't need much to be said about them. Patricio Pitbull, or this one does, though. So I should say two of the last three. But Patricio Pitbull versus Adam Borics here. This is a great fight at 145. So sorry I misspoke earlier when I said the three, but AJ McKee, Randy Brown parlay. Yep, go ahead and put Castaneda in there too with Palencia. Why not? Those are like four of my favorites on the weekend, honestly. So AJ McKee, Randy Brown, Richard Palencia, and yeah, I like it. So, but we're on to the main event here. Patricio Pitbull taking on Adam Borics and Barzolo. I agree. Adam Borics here. Adam Borics, he's on a roll right now, man. He's been on a roll most of his career, let's be honest. 18-1 for the kid, 29 years old, out of Hungary. He's looked really good now fighting out of Florida. 4 straight wins coming into this over Mike Hamill, Eric Sanchez, Jeremy Kennedy, and Mads Burnell, all going to decision. But the Mads Burnell fight especially really, really impressed me there in that one. Avoided the grappling, which Darren Caldwell got him into trouble with in his one loss, and just, kind of overall exposed him. He's been doing really good, keeping a good pace. He's not going crazy for the finish, but still throwing a lot of really dynamic strikes, mixing it up well. Baby shark time this weekend. Castaneda straight already, or else okay, fair enough. But yeah, Borics, I'm impressed with the guy. He's going to be able to compete with anybody in there. He did have the one finish by rear naked choke. Otherwise, he's been pretty flawless. Patricio Pitbull, 35 years old now, 33-5 overall. Had that impressive decision over AJ McKee, absolute war back in April. Had 6 months off since then. And yeah, looks like we're on the same side a lot this weekend. Indeed, Furio. I'll be talking to you about football later. But yeah, Patricio for me, the last couple fights with, AJ McKee definitely, I think, are starting to show that he's slowing a little bit. But, he's still a very, very capable striker, goes to his grappling when he needs to. He's very physical. Man, this is an interesting one, though, because I do think Adam Borics has the skill set to really give Patricio a lot of problems in this fight. I think that avoiding the phone booth striking at distance, which Boric's been showing he's willing to do more and more, poses as a huge positive for Borics coming into this one. I don't know where Patricio's focus is with regards to AJ McKee as well. I would anticipate he's not overlooking Borics here, but I think this is going to be a very competitive 5 rounds if Patricio is not able to get the power to affect him early. I definitely could see Patricio getting the power to get him out early, but I think the longer Borics sticks around, the more Borics starts to throw some things at Patricio to give him some problems. So not sure if I'm going to bet this one yet or not, but I'm actually going to lean with the dog here in the main event and Adam Borics. I think he can edge out a decision. The last 4, he's been shown that. I think he does need to let loose on the striking again. And, a knockout wouldn't shock me either from either side. I think it's a very close fight. But, yeah, I'm going with Borics. Currently, he is I'm seeing him for a plus 130, plus 125 minus 155 on Patricio. Think that's pretty accurately lined there. So, but yeah, I'll go with the underdog in Adam Borics. So, really quickly, I'll go through my picks for Bellator, and then I'll head over to the LFA and make those picks really quickly, just so that you guys can have an idea. But the LFA is from Brazil this weekend. It's a tougher LFA to call overall, so that's why I'm not doing a video, just to solidify that. Starting at the bottom, Weber Almeida versus Ryan Lilly. I'm not putting money behind Weber Almeida, but I'll take him to win this fight. Yeah, I just didn't think he gets the finish by TKO second round, but Ryan Lilly getting the KO wouldn't shock me. I got Bobby Soronino, the third, over Miguel Pembert, also by KO. Sumika Inaba getting the finish by, I'll say, submission over Nadine. In that one, Lance Gibson Jr. getting a finish by submission over Dominic Clark or a dominating decision. I got JJ Wilson over Vladimir Tokov by decision. I've got, man, I don't know. This is a tough one to call. I've been back and forth. I'll take Keoni Diggs by decision, but I hate that line completely. I've got Murtsaliev as well over Bestiev. Hate that line as well. Richard Palencia, one of my favorites on the weekend, all day long in that one, over CJ Hamilton. I think he gets a finish. Second round, I'll say. Mike Hamill, decision over Max Roshko. I like the dog there. Nick Brown, my favorite dog on the card, over Islam Mehmedov by decision as well. And then as well to the final four, in Enrique Barzolo, I have edging on a decision over Juan Archuleta. I have Aaron Pico getting the TKO round 2 over Jeremy Kennedy. I have AJ McKee getting a submission round 2 over Spike Carlyle, and Adam Borics edging out a decision to get the Bellator Featherweight title. No Invicta. Do you want Invicta picks at the? Okay, fine. I'll put some Invicta picks after the LFA picks too. Why not? Guys, look at the second or third round for Bobby. His line's off. He takes his time. Okay, I like it. All right, yeah, I'll throw in the LFA pick or Invicta picks right after the LFA here. So moving on to LFA 143. This is from like the middle of nowhere, Brazil. It's not even from like Curitiba. It's from Recife, Pernambuco, Brazil. Never heard of it. Tiago Pamplona is the ring announcer. There's one Invicta pick that is free. You can go ahead and state it below. Is it Brittany Cloudy? Because that's mine. But 42, 47, LFA 143. Just going to go through and quickly give my leans on these ones. Frankly, a lot of these fights lack tape and just are a little bit tough to call. But Fabio Aguilera is on the prelims against the 7-1 opponent, so that's kind of funny. But the main card starts with pretty low-level heavyweights, 8-4 Macon Douglas taking on Eduardo Novaes. Eduardo Novaes just stands up flat and just not really impressive. Macon Douglas, I'll take to get a TKO early on, hopefully. Pretty flat-footed. I think Macon's a little more fleet of foot. Rose Conocchio at 5-0, taking on Myra Thias at 4-2. Rose gets this done by submission. There's not much to say in these first two. By the way, Rose is a pretty large favorite going into this one, as anticipated. The Macon is a minus 300 favorite. I want nothing to do with that. Either Rose is a minus 400 favorite, plus 275 on Myra. I'll take Rose. Next one on the main card, Gabriel Silva versus Caio Machado. I am excited about this fight. I think it's going to be a very competitive fight as well. But yeah, for me, it's not one that I have a super strong lead on. I do think Gabriel Silva should get it done. Just overall, he's the better striker and just better overall level of competition. Should get it done. Minus 300. Don't hate it. Don't love it. 155, 7-0 Marcelo Marquez versus Augusto Maitias here. This is one that, is pretty tough to read on overall. Augusto Matias, 9-1. I'll just take a look at him really quick for everybody. 6 straight wins coming into this. Been fighting with Makhachev. Fighting against guys who are 0-1 and 4-10 in his last 2. No fight tape as well. Marcelo Marquez, 7-0, but fighting with Fight Music Show for a 4-0 opponent, for a 14-4 opponent. So based on the paper, I will go with the undefeated Marcelo Marquez, but again, wasn't able to find any tape on there. Not crazy about getting married to either one of these guys. 10-0 or 7-0 versus 9-1 here again. But I'll go with Marcelo here, minus 125, even money on Augusto Matias as well. So again, you are gambling. Jose Delano taking on Jair Juzinho. Jair Juzinho has faced a very low level of opponents, had multiple fights flagged. Jose Delano puts on a constant pressure. He's looked better and better, much improved. The weight is my concern with Jose, so I'm obviously not getting too far behind him, but Jose minus 300, I'll take him here to get the finish. Flyweight championship and heavyweight championship at the top here, but Gabriel Fernandez taking on Carolina Martins. I like Gabriel Fernandez here. I think she has a significant advantage, especially on the ground. Gets a submission win here to win the 125 title, probably get a UFC contract. Then Bruno Lopez having Willie Anderson Paiva come in to face him. Willie Anderson Paiva, 8-4-1. He hasn't fought since December of last year, getting a draw against Angela Lomboni. Joseph Monroe got the armbar finish, was knocked out by Delon Monte in 2017, armbarred by Munoz, armbarred by Carlos Eduardo. Anytime he's taken a step up in competition, he's had a severe stumble. Bruno Lopez, pretty complete overall heavyweight here, coming off an impressive win over Malton Acevedo, got the finish by arm triangle, finishing quite a few opponents with the arm triangle or submission overall. I think he gets another finish by submission here to win the heavyweight title. The odds on the final 2 fights of the night, Bruno is a minus 800 favorite. Insane. You want nothing to do with that. And then Gabriel Fernandez is a minus 400 favorite as well. Real quick, let's go over to the Contender Series and see what we got. Respect your IQ a lot. Who do you respect? Who do you favor? Oliver Makhachev on October 22nd. I have a lot on Islam. Who do I have in this one? My brain tells me Makhachev. My heart tells me Oliveira. Right now, I'm signed with my brain. But I honestly think that Oliveira has all the ability to get this fight done on the feet. I think he has the ability to get this done in submission. And I think Islam might be a little bit too much too soon on Islam. So I'll actually say I'm edging towards Oliveira right now. I'm not interested in betting Makhachev at the line it's at. All right. You asked for it. We got it. We got Invicta tonight, boys, on YouTube. Invicta 149. This is absolutely the minimal amount of tape I have put on here, but here is my picks for Invicta. What is this? Invicta, what number is this? 49 on YouTube. I'm not going to click into these if I'm unsure. I'm just going to be honest. Nadine Vera versus Shauna Bannon. Not betting it. I'll go with the Mexican. Sure. I'll go with Nadine. What is it? Nadia. Sorry. Nadia is a plus 200 underdog. Uh-oh. Well, Shauna Bannon. Okay, maybe you're good. Next fight, my girl Brittany Cloudy, 4-4, going against Montserrat Rendon at 4-0. I'm taking Brittany Cloudy. I'm not going to believe in any of the Montserrats until they show me otherwise, but probably not going to bet it. Brittany Cloudy's a favorite, minus 175. That's funny. Poliana Bontello versus Helen Peralta. I'm taking the one who weighed in with their shirt on, and Poliana. Nadia's massively small. Okay, good to know. I mean, that's fine. Okay, no problem, JR. And then, yeah, Brittany Cloudy sucks. I agree, but she's a favorite, so Montserrat must be bad. Again, not putting a lot of tape in this. I'll take Bontello over Helen Pereira. Bontello wore a shirt. Clearly, she's saying she should be able to get this one done. It'll probably be on the feet mostly. Hannah Guy, I like over Caitlin Neal. I think Hannah Guy is very underrated, and especially with her jiu-jitsu, I think pretty good. Nadia, small as fuck, only concern. Fine. That's fine. Liz Tracy versus Valeska Machado. This is going to be the best fight of the night, I think. Both girls are going to bring it. I really like Liz Tracy, but Valeska Machado, I've been very impressed with. So give me Valeska here. And I assume that will be pretty closely odds. Valeska is a minus 225 favorite. That's surprising, but she is that good. Hannah Guy, minus 150. Hannah Guy and Poliana Botello. Could be a parlay you want to do. I'm not going to do it. And then co-main event, 125, Majuo Suotama versus Caitlin Souza. Caitlin Souza seems freer than free, so I'll assume Caitlin Souza gets this done. Minus 333. I assume Caitlin Souza gets it done, yeah. And then, by murderless. Okay, good to know. And then Jessica Del Boni versus Jillian DeCourcy. Jillian DeCourcy, 5-3 versus 12-3 Del Boni. Del Boni's too good here. I love DeCourcy. I love the knockout ability, and she's got good submissions. But Del Boni should get this done. But the odds really make you want to take a shot on DeCourcy. So, boys, are we taking a shot on DeCourcy tonight at plus 350? Yes or no? First person to answer will determine if I put a $20 bet down or not. I'm gonna say no. It took too long. So I'll take Del Boni. I think she gets this done inside of 3 rounds. Bookies wants to take Oliveira at plus odds. All the UFC fighters are taking Oliveira too. I'll tell you right now, when the UFC fighters are taking a fighter, they know something. All the UFC fighters are taking Nate Diaz before that fight got taken, and if Nate Diaz would have won that fight, Vegas would have went pretty broke. So Van Zant killer. I'll go with Del Boni there. So there you go. A special third breakdown there with the Invicta card there. Minimal amount of tape on Invicta there. Was not planning to cover it, but you guys talked me into it. So we've got the Bellator breakdown, full breakdown on the channel or on the video here. The LFA 143 picks afterwards, and then the Invicta 49 picks. All of it will be in the timestamps after this. Not going to find anybody else doing that. Not going to find any other channel doing it. Good show. Thank you. Nothing special about this Invicta. I agree. Kelly, appreciate you. JR Smile, appreciate you. Furio MMA or Furio, go check him out. JR Smile. Many. Aleksandar, honestly, Moise. Everybody, I appreciate all the support. Shout out to Sandbox, best Discord on the channel. Definitely highly recommend them. $16, best money you'll ever spend. You'll make it back by the end of the first day. JR, appreciate best MMA channel around. Always keep it real. Always putting in the effort. That's going to do it for the week. We've got Bellator. We got LFA. We've got everything. We got everything you need. So killed it with the entire season of Contender Series. Thank you all for the support. Thank you for the likes, the subscriptions, sending this to anybody who gets true MMA coverage. That's the people I want here. We had double-digit viewers here for a last-second show. So take care of each other out there. Enjoy the Invicta tonight. Enjoy the LFA on Friday, Bellator and UFC on Saturday, MMA all weekend. Thank you, everybody, for the support. Keep taking care of each other out there. Peace out.